Every April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We at the Family Success Center have 2 educational-based programs to help children understand what child abuse actually is. Our first program is the Safe and Successful Child Abuse Prevention Program, led by Dina Thacker. Second program is called the Peace Program, and it's led by Teresa Owens. Both of these programs entail our educators going into the schools and talking to children about different forms of child abuse and how they can tell at an age-appropriate level. Our programs are funded by the Alabama Department of Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention, otherwise known as the Children's Trust Fund. The cost of child abuse is extremely expensive. This information is not even the most up-to-date information, but child abuse and neglect does in fact affect over 1 million children every single year, and it costs our country over $220 million every single day. Now, all of the information that I'm about to give to you all comes from Prevent Child Abuse America. So in regards to our educators spend a lot of time talking to children and teachers about how to recognize what child abuse is. So, as an educator, if a child suddenly shows changes in their behavior or school performance, or they did not receive any sort of medical attention that perhaps was brought to a parent's attention, or has learning problems, or is always watching and preparing for bad things to happen, or may lack adult supervision, these are all things that should be looked at. If a child is overly compliant, perhaps an overachiever, or comes to school late or even early and does not want to go home, then the adults need to take this more seriously and begin to look into it. If a parent shows very little concern for the child, perhaps they don't respond to a school's request, or denies the existence of the problem, or may even blame the child. They may even ask a classroom teacher to use more harsh discipline for their own child's mistakes. These are all concerns. If a parent sees a child as entirely bad or worthless, or demands perfection all of the time and looks primarily to the child for care and attention and satisfaction of their emotional needs, then these are concerns for child abuse. If a parent and child rarely look at each other and they consider their relationship extremely negative and they always state that they don't like each other, that's a cause of concern. But remember that not all of these signs prove that child abuse has been present in the family. A good number of these can be found in everyday relationships between parents and children at one time or another. But when these signs become repetitive, and they start to overlap and become in combination with each other, then educators take a closer look at the situation, because this could be child abuse happening in the home. So we should probably take that closer look to see what child abuse is, right? So what are some of the signs? Here are some of the signs of physical abuse. If some of these children are having unexplained burns or bruises or broken bones or perhaps faded bruises, or even seem frightened of the parents and protest to go home, or they may even cry when it's time to go home. They may even shrink away from the adult. And sometimes kids will actually tell when they're being hurt. If the adult caregiver is offering unconvincing explanations for a child's repetitive injuries and describes the kid as being evil, these are also signs of concern. If a child is constantly late or absent from school, or they're stealing food or money from their classmates, or they don't have the medical care that they need, these could be signs of neglect. If a child is constantly dirty or has body odor, or may lack sufficient clothing, or may even be abusing alcohol or drugs, or they may even say there's nobody at home to care for me, these could be signs of neglect. If an adult caregiver or parent seems to be extremely indifferent to the child, or they're depressed, or they behave irrationally, or maybe they abuse drugs or alcohol, these could be signs of neglect. And of course, there is sexual abuse. If a child seems as if they are refusing to change or participate in physical activity, or seem as if they're having a hard time walking or sitting, or they begin to demonstrate really unusual sexual knowledge or behavior at a really young age, then we need to consider sexual abuse. If a child becomes pregnant or even contracts a venereal disease under the age of 14 especially, or even begins to run away and even tell somebody that they're being touched, we need to believe them, because these are all signs of sexual abuse. Or if an adult caregiver or parent seem really protective and has severe limits of who the child can be in contact with in regards to the opposite sex. Or perhaps they keep a child isolated and is very secretive. Or they may be talking about their own marital difficulties and their own struggles with their sexual relationships, and they've discussed these with the child. These are all signs of sexual abuse. And if a child is showing extreme behavior, such as being compliant or being passive or maybe even really aggressive, or is inappropriately parenting other children, or has a delayed physical or emotional development, or has perhaps even attempted suicide, these could be signs of emotional maltreatment. If the adult caregiver or parent is always blaming or belittling this child and seems unconcerned about the child and refuses to offer help, or may even reject the child, these are all signs of emotional maltreatment. So what do you do if you suspect child abuse? Well, according to the Alabama Department of Human Resources, you need to call DHR or your local law enforcement agency to report suspected abuse or neglect. Don't send an email. Make sure that you actually call them. Alabama law is very clear about reporting abuse and neglect of children under the age of 19. And if you are someone who comes in contact with children on a regular basis, like a physician, teacher, social worker, daycare worker, anything like that, you should always be aware of your legal obligation to report incidents of child abuse and neglect. Or if you're just a concerned citizen or family member or friend who is aware of these incidents, you should also make a report to those who can take action. In partnership with the James M. Berry Center for Children and judicial leaders and other community members such as us, pinwheels are put out on the lawn of the judicial building. These pinwheels represent all of the children who underwent investigation in Etowah County by the James M. Berry Center for Children, and in 2018, there were 353 pinwheels set out on that lawn. Every year, all over the country, blue ribbons begin to pop up everywhere. We here at the Family Success Center house a blue ribbon campaign. The Blue Ribbon Campaign began in 1989 to prevent child abuse, and it began when a Virginia grandmother who paid tribute to her grandson died as a result of child abuse. The blue ribbon is to represent the bruises that were found on this child's body. And now, every year, the Blue Ribbon Campaign encourages people to wear blue every April in memory of those who have died as a result of child abuse. By encouraging businesses and individuals in Etowah County to paint Etowah County Blue, we're doing so to raise awareness for child abuse prevention. We do this as a fundraiser for businesses and individuals to not only paint Etowah County Blue every April, but we also purchase curriculum with the funds raised for both programs, the Safe and Successful Child Abuse Prevention Program and the Peace Program, to give the children the tools that they need in order to understand what child abuse is and how to tell a safe adult. We want to encourage everyone in Etowah County to display blue, not just in April, but all year round, to show that we as a county stand against child abuse. If you would like to know more information about the Safe and Successful Child Abuse Prevention Program and the Peace Program, please reach out to us at the Family Success Center at our website, family-success.org, or our phone number at 256-547-6888. And of course, you can find us on Facebook at Family Success Center 35903. If you would like to donate, you can go to our website and click the donate button at the top of the page and leave in the comment section that you are donating to child abuse prevention, and we'll make sure that those funds get to the appropriate program. Remember that every little bit helps. Stand against child abuse. Learn more about child abuse and talk to your children about child abuse. Stay safe, stay well, and be kind to each other.